Real footage has just been released showing where Coolio spent his final hours, and it's a surprising sight to see.
I'm 23 now, but will I live to see 24 the way they just going, I don't know.
Apparently, he spent his final hours rapping Gangsta's Paradise with college students, and then allegedly followed one of them to a nearby drug dealer who might have given him something his body couldn't handle. Forget the official narrative you heard. Prepare to witness the events as they unfolded, revealing a side of the story that will forever change how you remember a legend. The tragic end of a hip-hop legend. On September 28, 2022, the music world was stunned when news broke that Coolio, born artist Leon Ivy Jr., had been found unresponsive at a friend's home in Los Angeles. The Grammy-winning rapper, known for his distinctive braided hairstyle and chart-topping hits, was just 59 years old. Initial reports were vague, with many speculating about the cause, but now we have the official findings from the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office. After months of investigation and toxicology tests, in April 2023, the coroner confirmed what many had feared. Coolio's death was ruled as an accidental overdose, primarily caused by the effects of fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine. This devastating combination proved fatal, but there's much more to the story than just the substances involved. The medical examiner also listed several significant contributing factors that exacerbated the effects of the drugs in his system. Coolio had been suffering from unspecified cardiomyopathy, a serious heart muscle disease that impairs blood pumping. For someone with this condition, the cardiovascular strain caused by stimulants like methamphetamine would have been particularly dangerous. His longtime battle with asthma further complicated matters, as opioids like fentanyl and heroin are known to cause respiratory depression. Let's take a step back and look at the circumstances surrounding that tragic day. According to reports, Coolio was visiting a friend's home in Los Angeles. At some point, he went to the bathroom, where he was later discovered unresponsive on the floor. First responders were called to the scene around 4 p.m. for a medical emergency, but despite their efforts, he was pronounced dead at the scene. Interestingly, law enforcement initially found no drugs or drug paraphernalia nearby, and there were no immediate signs of foul play, leading to a full death investigation. His manager, Jarez Posey, was among the first to confirm the passing to mainstream media outlets. Later, after the coroner's findings were released, Posey noted that Coolio's severe asthma and history of cigarette smoking had played significant roles in his death. These underlying health issues, combined with the powerful drugs in his system, created a perfect storm that his body simply couldn't withstand. But to truly understand what happened to Coolio that night, we need to examine the context of his life and his long-standing battle with substance abuse. This wasn't a random incident, but rather the culmination of decades of struggle with addiction, punctuated by periods of sobriety and relapse. Coolio's journey with drugs began in the 1980s during his youth in Compton, California. Growing up in an environment where gang activity and drug use were commonplace, he became involved with the Baby Crips gang and developed an addiction to crack cocaine. In a revealing interview on Sway in the Morning in 2015, he candidly discussed his substance abuse issues, describing cocaine as his nemesis. He admitted that his drug use started with marijuana, progressed to ecstasy, and eventually centered on cocaine. The physical toll of his addiction was severe. By his own account, at one point he was down to 100 pounds, a skeleton, indicating the devastating effects of sustained drug use on his health. This early period of addiction could have easily claimed his life then, but Coolio found a path to recovery that would change his trajectory. In a remarkable turn of events that many fans may not know about, Coolio achieved sobriety in the late 1980s through an unexpected career move. After moving to San Jose to live with his father, a decision prompted by his brother Spoon, reportedly threatening to kill him if he didn't clean up his act, Coolio joined a firefighting program specifically designed for individuals struggling with addiction. He worked as a volunteer firefighter for the California Department of Forestry for approximately 18 months. In a 1994 interview with the Los Angeles Times, he described this period as transformative. By 1994, at the time of this interview, he proudly claimed to have been drug-free for about 8 years, suggesting he had achieved sobriety around 1986. This period of clean living coincided with Coolio's rise to fame in the music industry. His debut album, It Takes a Thief, was released in 1994, featuring the hit single Fantastic Voyage, which reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Just a year later, he would release the song that would define his career, Gangsta's Paradise, which topped charts worldwide and won him a Grammy Award for Best Rap Solo Performance. For a time, it seemed that Coolio had truly conquered his demons. He had transformed from an addict on the brink of death to a global superstar, all while maintaining his sobriety. His story was inspiring, a testament to the possibility of overcoming addiction and achieving greatness. But the pressures of fame, coupled with the temptations that come with success in the music industry, eventually led Coolio back to his old habits. In the same 2015 interview where he called cocaine his nemesis, he revealed that after stopping cocaine use for 12 years, he started back again, suggesting a relapse period beginning sometime in the early 2000s. This relapse was confirmed by legal troubles, most notably in 2009, when Coolio was arrested at Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, for possession of crack cocaine. Security screeners discovered the substance in his luggage, and the situation escalated when Coolio grabbed a screener's arm, leading to additional charges of battery and possession of drug paraphernalia. On June 26, 2009, he pleaded guilty to felony cocaine possession. As part of a plea deal, the battery and paraphernalia charges were dropped, and Coolio avoided jail time by entering an 18-month drug rehabilitation program. This very public incident highlighted the ongoing nature of his struggle with addiction, despite his earlier successes in achieving sobriety. In the years that followed, Coolio continued to make music and appear on reality television shows, but his career never again reached the heights of his mid-90s success. Behind the scenes, his battle with substance abuse continued, with the specific details largely kept private from the public eye. What we do know is that by 2022, Coolio was using multiple substances, including fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine, a dangerous combination that reflects the evolution of drug use patterns since his early days of addiction in the 1980s. The presence of fentanyl, a synthetic opioid up to 50 times more potent than heroin, is particularly notable given its prominence in the current opioid crisis and its role in numerous celebrity overdose deaths in recent years. The coroner's report also mentioned recent phencyclidine, PCP, use as a contributing factor in Coolio's death. PCP, a hallucinogenic drug, can cause increased heart rate, blood pressure, and body temperature, adding further strain to his already compromised cardiovascular system. This cocktail of substances, combined with his underlying health conditions, created a situation where survival was unlikely. As we reflect on Coolio's passing, it's important to understand that what happened that night wasn't just about the drugs in his system or the immediate circumstances. It was the culmination of a lifelong struggle with addiction, a struggle that saw periods of triumphant recovery and devastating relapse. Up next, we'll explore Coolio's musical legacy and how his contributions to hip-hop helped shape the cultural landscape of the 1990s and beyond. The rise, fall, and legacy of a hip-hop icon. Coolio's path to stardom was anything but straightforward. After overcoming his initial struggles with addiction through his work as a volunteer firefighter, he began pursuing music seriously, showcasing his rap skills at local talent contests and adopting the stage name that would become famous worldwide. His early career included working as an on-air personality at a Los Angeles rap radio station, where he released the local hit What You Gonna Do in 1987. Before achieving solo success, Coolio was part of several groups. In the late 1980s, he joined the electro-hip-hop groups Soundmaster Crew, and New School. But it was his work with the gangsta rap group WC and the Mod Circle in 1991 that began to establish his presence in the West Coast rap scene. He contributed to their debut album, Ain't a Damn Thing Changed, particularly on the single Dress Code, which helped him gain recognition within the industry. The turning point came in 1994 when Coolio signed with Tommy Boy Records and released his debut solo album, It Takes a Thief. The album was a commercial and critical success, peaking at number 8 on the Billboard 200 and eventually being certified platinum by the RIAA. The lead single, Fantastic Voyage, reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, introducing audiences to Coolio's unique style that blended funk influences with accessible lyrics about escapism. What set Coolio apart from many of his contemporaries in gangsta rap was his ability to merge lighthearted themes with the gritty realities of life in Compton. This distinctive approach earned him critical acclaim, with Rolling Stone giving It Takes a Thief 3.5 stars for its comedic and skillful delivery. His music offered a refreshing alternative to the hardcore gangsta rap that dominated the era, earning him the nickname Uncoolio among some peers. But it was his second album, Gangsta's Paradise, released in November 1995, that would catapult Coolio to international superstardom. The title track, featuring R&B singer LV, became a global phenomenon, topping the Billboard Hot 100 for 3 weeks and becoming the #1 single of 1995 in the United States. The song's success extended far beyond American shores, reaching the top of charts in the UK, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, Sweden, Austria, Netherlands, Norway, Switzerland, Australia, and New Zealand. Gangsta's Paradise masterfully interpolated Stevie Wonder's Pastime Paradise, creating a haunting backdrop for Coolio's verses about the cycle of violence, poverty, and the search for redemption in urban America. The track gained additional exposure through its inclusion in the film Dangerous Minds, starring Michelle Pfeiffer, who also appeared in the music video directed by Antoine Fuqua. The impact of Gangsta's Paradise Paradise cannot be overstated. The song won a Grammy Award for Best Rap Solo Performance in 1996, 2 MTV Video Music Awards for Best Rap Video and Best Video from a Film, and a Billboard Music Award for Single of the Year. Over the years, it has been consistently ranked among the greatest songs of the 1990s in hip-hop history. The album, Gangsta's Paradise, was certified 2 times platinum, selling over 2 million copies in the US. Other singles from the album also performed well, including 1, 2, 3, 4, Something New, and Too Hot, with the former earning an MTV Video Music Award for Best Dance Video. Coolio's third album, My Soul, released in 1997, continued his streak of success, achieving gold certification. The lead single, See You When You Get There, which sampled Pachelbel's Cannon, peaked at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became a top 20 hit in several countries. This track further demonstrated Coolio's versatility as an artist, showing his ability to blend classical influences with hip-hop to create something uniquely compelling. Beyond his own albums, Coolio was a sought-after collaborator and contributor to film and television soundtracks. He appeared on the 1996 Space Jam soundtrack with Hit 'Em High, alongside Be Real, Method Man, L. Cool J, and Busta Rhymes. He contributed It's All the Way Live Now to the 1996 film Eddie, and wrote the theme song, All Here It Goes, for the Nickelodeon series Kenan and Kel, reaching younger audiences and demonstrating his crossover appeal. His song Rollin' With My Homies was featured in the cult classic film Clueless, becoming a memorable part of the movie's party scene. These contributions helped cement Coolio's place in popular culture beyond just his chart success, making him a truly ubiquitous figure in 1990s entertainment. Throughout his career, Coolio released a total of 9 albums, though none of his later works achieved the commercial heights of his first 3 offerings. Albums like Coolio.com, El Cool Magnifico, The Return of the Gangsta, Still Here, From the Bottom to the Top, and Long Live the Thief showed his continued dedication to music, even as mainstream attention had moved on to newer artists. In total, Coolio sold 4.8 million albums in the United States and over 17 million records worldwide, performing extensively across the globe. His concerts took him to Africa, Israel, Russia, Japan, Thailand, Brazil, Australia, Turkey, and throughout Europe, demonstrating his international appeal even years after his commercial peak. But while Coolio was building his musical legacy, he was also accumulating a troubling record of legal issues and controversies that would shadow his career. These problems often stemmed from his ongoing substance abuse issues, but they extended to other areas as well, creating a complex portrait of the man behind the music. As we mentioned earlier, one of his most significant legal troubles came in 2009 with his arrest at LAX for cocaine possession. However, this was far from his only brush with the law. In fact, his legal problems began early in life, with reports suggesting he was arrested for taking a weapon to school and served prison time for larceny during his youth before his music career took off. In November 1997, Coolio and his band, 40 Thieves, were accused of stealing clothing worth $940 from a boutique in Stuttgart, Germany, during a publicity event. The boutique owner claimed Coolio punched her when she tried to intervene. In December 1998, a German court convicted him of being an accessory to robbery and causing bodily injury, sentencing him to 6 months probation and a $17,000 fine. Coolio denied punching the woman, calling it a misunderstanding, but the conviction stood. Legal issues related to his music also emerged. In October 2000, producer Dominic Aldridge, known as Romeo, sued Coolio and record labels Atlantic, Priority, and Tommy Boy for over $1 million, alleging breach of contract and unpaid royalties from songs on the albums Gangsta's Paradise and My Soul. The lawsuit sought accounting of all money received from 3 songs and compensatory damages, reflecting disputes over financial agreements. Coolio's troubles with the law continued into the 2000s. In 2001, he was convicted of carrying a concealed weapon in a vehicle, a felony that would later impact his legal standing in subsequent cases. This established a pattern of firearm-related issues that would resurface later in his life. In 2013, Coolio faced domestic violence charges after allegedly striking his girlfriend, Annabella Chapman, during an argument in their Las Vegas home. Reports claimed he pushed and punched her, though he denied the allegations, saying she had attacked him. The case was eventually dropped in September 2013 when Chapman changed her story, and prosecutors could not prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Perhaps his most serious legal trouble in later years came in September 2016, when Coolio was arrested at Los Angeles International Airport after a loaded firearm was found in his carry-on bag during security screening, given his prior felony convictions, including the 2001 weapons charge and the 2009 underlying drug conviction, he was charged with unlawful firearm possession. In October 2016, he pleaded guilty to carrying a concealed weapon and received 3 years probation and 45 days of community service, avoiding potential prison time. Beyond these legal issues, Coolio was involved in several controversies that damaged his public image. One notable incident occurred when Weird Al Yankovic parodied Gangsta's Paradise as Amish Paradise in 1996. Coolio initially claimed that Yankovic had not sought permission for the parody, leading to a public dispute. However, he later acknowledged that there had been a miscommunication, explaining that Yankovic had tried to contact him, but the message hadn't been properly relayed. They eventually resolved their differences, with Coolio accepting the parody, though the incident briefly overshadowed his achievements. Perhaps his most controversial public moments came during his appearances on reality television, particularly Celebrity Big Brother in the UK. During his stint on the show in January 2009, Coolio's behavior drew significant backlash. He was accused of bullying, misogyny, and using racist language, particularly towards female housemates like Michelle Heaton and Ulrika Johnson. The broadcasting regulator Ofcom received 527 complaints about his misogynistic and sexist conduct, including what was described as non-stop racist language and disturbing details about his past, such as boasting about stabbing a gang rival. Despite the controversy, Ofcom ultimately cleared the show, stating that such exchanges were almost inevitable given the format of the program. Some scenes were reportedly edited out due to their explicit nature. Coolio finished third in that season, but his reputation had suffered considerable damage. The following year, in 2010, Coolio joined Ultimate Big Brother, but was removed within days after a heated argument with fellow contestant Nadia Almada. Reports suggest the confrontation was significant enough for producers to remove him from the show, adding to his controversial reality TV tenure. International incidents also marred his later career. In 2017, Coolio was denied entry to Singapore at Changi International Airport, missing a scheduled performance at a Formula One concert event. The reason for the denial was not disclosed and was listed as confidential, but it was likely related to his criminal record, creating another public controversy about his ability to travel internationally. As if these legal and personal controversies weren't enough, Coolio's financial situation was also complicated. When he died in 2022, he left behind an estate valued at over $300,000 but without a will. Reports indicated that 7 of his 10 children were listed as next of kin and likely to inherit his estate, which included royalties from his music catalog, personal property, and financial accounts. Adding further complexity to his estate matters, in June 2023, several months after his death, Randa Davis, an alleged assault victim from a 2011 lawsuit, demanded $173,069.28 from Coolio's estate. This claim stemmed from an incident in 2009 at the MGM Grand Detroit Casino, where Davis alleged that Coolio jumped on her back and rode her like a bull while intoxicated, causing injury and humiliation. She had filed the lawsuit in February 2011 and obtained a default judgment in 2013 when Coolio failed to respond, leaving the claim unresolved at the time of his death. These legal issues, controversies, and financial complications paint a picture of a man whose life was far more difficult than his smooth, radio-friendly hits might suggest. Yet despite these troubles, Coolio's musical contributions remain significant, particularly in how he helped shape the sound and direction of 1990s hip-hop. According to the BBC, Coolio's music, especially Gangsta's Paradise, changed the course of hip-hop by making it more accessible to mainstream audiences. His anti-violence stance and socially conscious lyrics provided a counterbalance to the hardcore gangsta rap of the era. The song's gospel melodies, high-quality production by Doug Rashid and L.V. S soulful vocals gave it a unique eccentricity that helped it transcend typical genre boundaries. Coolio also contributed to social causes throughout his career. He appeared on the 1996 Red Hot Organization's America is Dying Slowly album, which aimed to raise AIDS awareness among young African-American men. He joined artists like Biz Markie and Wu-Tang Clan in this important project. He also served as a spokesman for the Asthma and Allergies Foundation, reflecting his personal experience with the condition that would later contribute to his death. Now let's dig deeper into the circumstances of Coolio's final days, the impact of fentanyl and other drugs on his death. Coolio's final days and celebrity addiction. As we approach the 3-year anniversary of Coolio's passing, it's worth noting that there have been relatively few updates or developments related to his death since the coroner's report was released in April 2023. This is not unusual. Once the official cause of death has been determined, particularly in cases ruled accidental, further investigation typically ceases. However, we can piece together what is known about his final period and the projects he was working on before his untimely death. In the months leading up to September 2022, Coolio remained active in the music industry, industry, though certainly not at the level of his 1990s heyday. He continued to perform at concerts and events, leveraging the enduring popularity of Gangsta's Paradise and his other hits. Before his passing, he was reportedly working on a Las Vegas show called The Evolution of Hip Hop, which was completed in 2022. Intriguingly, there were plans for materials from this project to be sent to the moon in 2026 by Quantum Aerospace and SpaceX, symbolizing the lasting impact of his contributions to music. Perhaps the most significant posthumous project was the album Long Live Coolio, which his estate announced in March 2023. This collection was intended to feature material Coolio had been working on before his death, including collaborations with artists like $2 Hort, Treach from Naughty by Nature, and DJ Wino. The first single, Tag You It, was released that same month, accompanied by a music video. Another single, A Star Is Born, premiered in July 2023, with the full album slated for release later that year. However, as of 2025, there is no confirmation that Long Live Coolio was ever officially released, leaving uncertainty about its status. The announced track list included 11 songs with guest appearances from Raz Kass, JD from Da Lynch Mob, and others, but the project seems to have stalled or been released with minimal promotion. This situation is unfortunately common with posthumous albums, which often face complications related to rights, production finalization, and marketing challenges. Regarding his estate, valued at over $300,000, the situation after his death was complicated by the fact that Coolio died without a will. 7 of his 10 children were listed as next of kin and likely inheritors of his assets, which included royalties from his music catalog, personal property, and financial accounts. His family included daughters Artisha, Brandy, and Jackie, and son Artis, among others, with some having appeared on his 2008 reality show Coolio's Rules. He had also mentioned having 5 grandchildren during a March 2022 appearance on Australia's Today Extra program. One aspect that makes Coolio's passing particularly tragic is that it represents yet another musician lost to substance abuse, a pattern all too common in the music industry. His death from an overdose involving fentanyl places him among a growing list of artists who have succumbed to this potent synthetic opioid, which has become increasingly prevalent in drug supplies in recent years. The music world has a long and unfortunate history of losing talented individuals to overdoses. The infamous 27 Club, a group of musicians who died at age 27, often due to substance abuse, includes legendary figures like Jimi Hendrix, who died in 1970 from a barbiturate overdose, and Janis Joplin, who died the same year from heroin. Jim Morrison of The Doors died in 1971 at age 27, officially from heart failure, though many believe heroin was involved. No autopsy was performed, adding to the controversy. In more recent years, high-profile musicians like Prince and Tom Petty have died from overdoses involving fentanyl, the same substance found in Coolio's system. Prince's death at age 57 was attributed to an accidental fentanyl overdose discovered at his Paisley Park estate. Tom Petty died at age 66 from an accidental overdose of multiple drugs, including fentanyl and oxycodone, taken for pain from a fractured hip that worsened during touring. The younger generation of music has not been spared either. Artists like Lexi Aligi, Fentanyl and Alcohol 2020, Juice WRLD, Cocaine and Fentanyl 2020, and Lil Peep have all been lost to overdoses involving fentanyl, highlighting the particularly deadly nature of this opioid and its increasing presence in accidental overdose deaths. The music industry's culture, with its long tours, high stress, and often easy access to substances, creates an environment where addiction can thrive. Organizations like MusiCares have emerged to provide recovery services specifically for those in the music industry, recognizing the unique challenges they face. Yet despite these efforts, the industry continues to lose talented individuals to substance abuse at an alarming rate. What sets Coolio's case apart from some of these other tragic losses is the complex interplay of his long-standing addiction issues with his serious health conditions. The combination of cardiomyopathy and asthma made him particularly vulnerable to the respiratory depression caused by opioids like fentanyl and heroin. Additionally, the stimulant effects of methamphetamine would have placed significant strain on his already compromised cardiovascular system. Medical experts note that fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine and has become increasingly common in street drugs, often without users' knowledge. When combined with heroin, as in Coolio's case, the respiratory depressant effects are amplified. Add methamphetamine to this mixture, and you have a particularly dangerous combination that places extreme stress on the heart and lungs. For someone with Coolio's health profile, a 59-year-old man with heart disease, asthma, and a history of smoking, this drug combination was especially lethal. His asthma would have made him more susceptible to the respiratory depression caused by opioids, while his cardiomyopathy would have reduced his heart's ability to handle the stress imposed by methamphetamine. The presence of recent phencyclidine, PCP use as a contributing factor adds yet another layer to this already dangerous situation. PCP can increase heart rate, blood pressure, and body temperature, placing additional strain on the cardiovascular system. At high doses, it may also depress respiratory function, further compounding the effects of the opioids in his system. What makes Coolio's story particularly poignant is that he had achieved significant periods of sobriety throughout his life, most notably during his time as a volunteer firefighter in the late 1980s. That he ultimately succumbed to addiction after these successful recoveries highlights the persistent nature of substance use disorders and the challenges of maintaining long-term sobriety, especially for those in the public eye. The fact that no drugs or paraphernalia were found at the scene of his death raises questions about the circumstances of his final drug use. It's possible he consumed the substances elsewhere before arriving at his friend's home, or that any evidence was removed before authorities arrived. Whatever the case, the coroner's ruling of accidental overdose suggests there was no foul play or intentional harm, just the tragic culmination of a lifelong struggle with addiction. His story serves as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale. The inspiration comes from his remarkable journey from the streets of Compton to international stardom, overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles along the way. The caution lies in the reminder that addiction is a chronic, relapsing condition that can claim lives even after periods of successful recovery. As we continue to enjoy his music and remember his contributions to hip-hop culture, we should also acknowledge the human cost of addiction and the importance of addressing substance abuse issues with compassion and effective treatment. Perhaps the most meaningful tribute to Coolio's memory would be increased awareness and resources dedicated to preventing similar tragedies in the future. In the end, what really happened to Coolio that night in September 2022 was the final chapter in a long and complicated story, one of talent and struggle, triumph and tragedy, sobriety and relapse. His accidental overdose was not just the result of the specific drugs in his system that night, but the culmination of decades of battling addiction, health problems, and the pressures of fame. If you enjoyed this video, check out our other awesome videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.